It's WST Sunday Live, hosted by Hrabchak, Lyss Houde, and Jacob Stoller.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome in to a game day edition of WST Sunday Live. And oh yeah, it's a Game 7 game day edition of WST Sunday Live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Hrabchak. Today, I'm joined by Lyss Houde and Jacob Stoller, as always. And we've got a massive, massive show. We're going to start by breaking down what happened in Game 6. We're going to get to trending up, down right off the bat, get away from Game 6, and then the entire focus is going to be on Game 7. The Jets are hitting the ice for their morning skate at 9:30, so we'll get clues as to who's in the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets for that. And then we will, of course, preview Game 7 and how the Winnipeg Jets can win today. Lyss, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing just peachy keen. I'm super looking forward to today being over, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. But you know what? I think everyone reacts differently and everyone gets engaged differently when it comes to games like this that are so high stakes. And I'm just loving how excited everyone is and how fired up the city is. And just, little things like Hellebuyck not having super great games in games 3 and 4 and coming back home and having the MVP chant sounding through the rafters in Game 6. This city is super locked in on this team, and they're, someone in the chat mentioned reckless optimism, and I think that's a fun way to kind of describe where I think a lot of folks are at, and I love that. I think that's what you need to do. So I'm super excited for everyone.
Absolutely. Jacob, how are you doing today on the day of Game 7 here in Winnipeg?
I'm gonna have the lamest answer ever. I'm anxious because if this game goes to overtime, I don't know what to do. I've never been in an overtime situation where I have a deadline. So kind of freaking out this morning. I mean, I'll figure it out, but
deadline related.
Yeah, people can't really relate to my anxiety that I feel for today. So hoping for regulation either way.
Okay.
I don't know. Fine. Hoping for the Jets. Whatever you want to hear. I just want to get the story done with. But excited. No, but I'm excited for the game. It's crazy. The city. I asked Barron and Sandberg this. I don't think I delivered the question very well, but I tried to ask them how you concentrate on game by game when the entire city is in whiteout mode. And I don't know if they understood what I meant, but what I meant is, I'm sure everyone listening to this, Lyss, Connor as well, you can tell we're in whiteout mode when you walk outside your door.
Oh yeah,
at all times, and every business has something, and so it'll be exciting.
White cars, the front of the dealerships, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Trans Canada Brewing has a whiteout beer.
Yeah,
I don't know if I just gave him a free plug. I don't even know why I did that, but
no, but it's part of the story. Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. So listen, I love whiteout season, so hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah, no kidding. And if they are able to win tonight, they'd be taking on the Dallas Stars in round 2. Maybe we could touch on that Game 7 a little bit later on, because that was an incredible game. But let's go back to Game 6. The Winnipeg Jets losing that one 5-2, very reminiscent of Game 4 in St. Louis, where halfway through the game, it's 1-1. You think the Jets aren't playing too bad, and then a 4 to 10 minute stretch just absolutely kills them. And that's the game. And that's what every road game has kind of looked like. In Game 3, it was the first 10 minutes where they went down 2-0. So what went wrong for Winnipeg? It really in all 3 road games, but specifically Game 6, Lyss, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke about this briefly on Twitter, and I think it's so funny because at the end of the day, I struggle sometimes when people in passing will just randomly bring up conversation oh, the Jets were terrible in Game 6. And I was like, not really. And everyone's like, what? And I'm like, okay, I completely understand why you say that. And I completely agree in the scale of a 5-minute stretch of the second period where things just kind of fell apart. But there was enough stuff to like about that game for me, like straight up. And I think that sounds maybe a little bit too optimistic, a little bit too homer, but I'm hard on these guys when I need to be hard on them. I do believe that. And there were parts of their game that I liked. I really liked their first period. I really liked how I thought there weren't a lot of those high shots coming from the point with like a bunch of guys crossing through the middle. The way that they scored on the fourth goal in particular, but the way they've scored on Connor Hellebuyck many times over the course of this series, there weren't a lot of chances like that over the course of the first period. As the second period started, every time the St. Louis Blues took a point shot, I didn't have that same like gut-wrenching feeling that I did in games 3 and 4, where it's like that's going in every single time, right? I thought there was a little bit of a better management of the middle of the ice from that regard. And then just the lack of, I don't know if you want to call it discipline or finishing, whatever you want, in that short stretch there was tough to watch, not just because obviously the lots of goals kind of came in that period of time, but like you need to understand that a goal 10 minutes after a goal doesn't mean the same as a goal 3 minutes after a goal, 2 minutes after, 1 minute after a goal, right? You need to, in that moment, kind of lock in and make sure that you're not letting this get away from you before you even have a chance to fight back. That just didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacob, what do you think went wrong in game 6?
Yeah, it's the same thing that Lyss, myself, Scar, everyone's going to say. We all know the game trailed off around the 33-minute mark, whatever it was. But to me, I think it's not so much that the Jets are losing these games the score they are. It's that in game 4, right? Game 4 is what it was. Yeah, game 4 and game 6, it's bang, 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 like consecutive goals deflates everything. Like it's over. Like that's it right there. The game is lost. You've pulled Connor Hellebuyck. Everyone on the ice knows this third period means nothing, and it's just a waste of time. And I think that, like, for their own sake too, right? You're getting all revved up and then gets deflated. So that happened again. And if the Jets are going to win this series, they need to be playing what they call, and it's super cheesy, but Winnipeg Jet hockey.
I knew you were going to say that.
If you ask anyone what Winnipeg Jet hockey entails, they say to win a game 2-1. To do that, you need to, stop the goals. So
you can't give up 4 goals in 5 minutes.
You can't come out and say that 7-6 win against Colorado last year was uncharacteristic to what you do, but then you play so loose defensively and, you have nothing to respond with. Like that's the part where, like Lyss once a couple episodes said, fighting fire with fire. Remember, it was in the context of Ehlers. Like, that's another thing too. It's like, hey, you're going to either defend impeccably or you guys got to score more goals. And they're probably not going to score more goals. So, like it, but to that same degree, it's, I remember watching that game, and the one thing I thought is if Scheifele's back for game 7, which we'll see,
the
power play can be a weapon, because even Ehlers at 75% speed is able to make poised plays and make the Blues actually think. We still haven't seen Velarde too much yet, and that's a good thing, because I think that in game 7 he could 100% slip past him on the power play. So that was what I was optimistically thinking from that game. But in terms of the game itself, it was a bunch of crap. Like that was just a terrible hockey game for the reasons we know. And in the past.
Totally. And let me just clarify, Mark Scheifele's a game time decision. A lot of people in chat are asking about Mark Scheifele. Game time call. The Jets are going to hit the ice for morning skate at 9:30. We'll have a live reaction. He'll be on the ice or he won't, and he'll play or he won't. So this is what is going to happen at 9:30.
Quick guesses from everybody.
I'm not going to guess. I don't know. Sure, I think he plays. I don't know.
I think he plays.
I also think he plays. So there we go. How fun of a segment that was.
This could age terribly. In
I don't care.
No. I just think
if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I think he's gonna play.
Sure. Okay. All right. Let's. Well, I do want to ask last thing on Game 6 before we get to our trending up down segment. Who do we thought stood out in a positive way for the Winnipeg Jets? People want to take positives into Game 7. 5-2 loss. There isn't much. But are there any players, units, the power play, the penalty kill, those things as well that we thought stood out in a good way, Lyss?
Yeah, I think all 3 players in the second line looked good. Obviously, Nikolai Ehlers coming back. His first shift of the game, same way as Gabe Vilardi's first shift of his first game. I was like, okay, this is fun. Welcome back. Like, this is awesome. And you mentioned Nikolai Ehlers on the power play. Like, man, oh man, the couple of random passes here and there. What a weird player. I'm obsessed with watching him play. He's so funny. Like, there is just a lot of, yeah, if I were defending against a player like that, I'd be like, I'm really not sure what's going to happen here anytime he's on the ice, right? So that was nice to inject back in the lineup. I thought Cole Perfetti looked good. And maybe this is a little bit too definitive of a take, but I think that was Adam Lowry's best game of the series so far. And he's a guy who needs to be better, in my opinion. So that was encouraging to see. I think that line looked good. And so Adam Lowry's the one in particular I want to give a little bit of love to, just because he has the potential to be a little bit more impactful than I think he has been. And I thought he looked good in game 5, all things considered.
Yeah. And Jacob, I'll let you rant on Morgan Barron. Go ahead.
Yeah, I love him. I think he's a great person. No, I think he's sick. Like, he had that net front drive that was called off, and then another one.
And then another one, yeah.
Like, he's a beast. I would like to see him. He finishes hits and stuff, but I think that there's another level you can get to in terms of just making impact physically. But he's so well at everything else. I'll save my Morgan Barron rant for when he scores the Game 7 OT winner. Okay. But that's all you get from me for
Noted.
now.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, I see some people dropping their picks already in the chat below. We want to get to it early because we'll get the morning skate news obviously at 9:30. And most of the focus on today's show obviously is going to be on Game 7. So let's get right to it. This is trending up or trending down, the part of the show where we pick one player who has trended up or down for the Winnipeg Jets over the past week of play. If you are here joining us live on YouTube, it's 9:13. We've already got 250 people here live with us. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe, hit the notification bell, and drop your pick in the comment below. One player trending up and one player trending down. Lyss, we'll start with you. Who is trending up for you? I guess it's over the past week of play, but it's more like games 5 and 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna give some love to Vlad Nemestikov just because he's a guy who I've been pretty hard on for a good chunk of the year, and sometimes for things out of his control, just in the sense of we've spoken about this, whether it be here or in other situations. He's not the bona fide second line center that the Winnipeg Jets, I think, need in their lineup, want in their lineup, or whatever. I think in terms of what he's capable of, like, he's a guy who appears to be giving 110% of what he's able to do at all times. Like, I think very highly of him. I just sometimes struggle with what he's actually able to produce in the role that he's given. And if you want to talk about the role he's been given, he's had to really step up in the last couple of games. And for what he's capable of, I think he's done a fine job. I think he's done well. And I think that, it's a really, really tough task to have to take on to fill the shoes of Mark Scheifele. He's, outside of Connor Hellebuyck, the most important Winnipeg Jet, and I mean that 100%. So I want to give some flowers to Vlad Nemestikov. I think he deserves a little bit of love considering how hard I've been on him all season and how he's been able to step up a little bit in the last little bit.
I like that pick. Jacob, who do you have for trending up?
Cole Perfetti. The fact that he has not gotten absolutely rocked, and flown across the ice itself is deserving of that recognition. But Perfetti is making plays with the puck in a very tight checking series. It's in line with what we've seen since late January. It's actually elevated, I think. And if the Jets are at their full healthy lineup and he has playmakers around him, I think that there's an even better version of Cole Perfetti we haven't seen yet. Hopefully we get to see in the future, but beyond this game here today. But yeah, I think Perfetti's been solid. Like, I think if there's one really encouraging development, it's that, okay, like this is a guy that can be a 20-30 player in the regular season and actually be an impact in the playoffs. Yeah. And if that's one of the takeaways from this year, that's a huge positive for the core.
For sure.
So true. Love it.
Yeah. Cole Perfetti. He's been great. And he's had so many goals, hit posts. He had the goal called back on the Jordan Binnington one early in the series on the road. So he was definitely due for a goal and finally got one in game 6 there. My trending up pick, I'm going to take Morgan Barron. I know the goal didn't count, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Morgan Barron, especially in that elevated role with no Mark Scheifele. Like the last 2 periods of game 5 and then all of game 6, I thought Morgan Barron was getting to the front of the net. He had a few net drives and was making plays, offensive plays. And usually with those bottom 6 guys, they bring the energy and they have some of the tools. but it's that next step of like making a pass or finishing off a play that they're unable to do, which kind of limits them from being a top 6 forward. You're starting to see Morgan Barron slowly make a little bit more of those plays. I'm not saying he's going to become a top 6 forward, but he can become a very effective bottom 6 player for the Winnipeg Jets. And in a playoff series in Game 7, it's all hands on deck. And sometimes these bottom 6 players are the heroes. So I'm going to take Morgan Barron. I think he'll have a big impact in today's game. That's my pick for trending up. For trending down, snake draft, I'll go first. I'll take the easy one, Connor Hellebuyck. Not good enough in Game 6. The Brain Shen goal from the top of the circles was a deflator. You give up the second goal, which the guy's just wide open in front. Like, that's not on Helly on that one. But then the third one, unscreened, untipped, top of the circles, Brain Shen, not a crazy shot. Like, it's not like it went off the corner of the crossbar and in. Like, it just beat him clean. And I think I took Connor Hellebuyck for trending down earlier in the year, and people were on me. Now I think everyone in the chat's going to agree. Like, no one's really going to, push back on this one. I can bring up all the numbers. I'm not going to. Connor Hellebuyck's going to start today. He needs to be better. He needs to be the best goalie if the Jets are going to win this Game 7 and win this series and go on to do bigger and better things in the playoffs. So I'm going to take Connor Hellebuyck for trending down. Jacob, you're back up for trending down.
I'm going to take one with a precaution here. This is not this person's fault. Okay, Josh Morrissey. Okay. I think Josh Morrissey is not 100%. I don't think he's at 100% right now.
No.
And the reason I would assume that is because Josh Morrissey, who's one of the best in the entire league at retrievals in the defensive zone, does not use his edges, weaponize his edges very often, if ever, this series. He's not going side to side on the blue line, and the explosiveness isn't there. And that's not something that you see with Josh Morrissey. Obviously in the playoffs, you're not doing as much skating with the puck and whatnot as a defenseman. But I think that, I expected more from Josh, but I think there's reason to believe that he's not at 100%.
Okay. Lyss, who do you have for trending down?
I thought my pick was going to get taken first. I had a bunch of kind of random, more off the board picks because I was like, oh, this is going to get taken, but I got to go with Luke Schenn. I think that's a pretty popular answer in the chat here as well. This is a player who, and again, I try to be consistent with a lot of my takes on things, not get too squirrely with looking at, immediate moments and saying, oh my gosh, my opinion has completely changed. A lot of folks had concerns about this player when brought in at the trade deadline. They say, okay, here's what he can bring to the lineup. Here are what the risks are. And I think we're seeing a lot of those risks on full display while also simultaneously not getting the benefit that the Winnipeg Jets traded for him for, right? You can, if you're, it's the Logan Stanley argument or whatever, where it's like, you can think that the positives are that important that you're willing to overlook the deficiencies because you need those positive things from that guy. But if you're not getting them, all of a sudden you have a net negative player that is really not doing a lot to help your lineup. And so Luke Schenn falls into that category for me. He's been not as physical as I would have liked, especially considering the lack of discipline that we saw from him in, I don't remember what game that was, but all those penalties at those 4 times, like just little things that are just not going super well for that player when he's on the ice, and getting caught not having the amount of failed clears from not just him, but when he's on the ice, whether it be that pairing or the forwards, when that group and unit is on the ice, it's been tough to watch them in zone. And so he gets my trending down for this week for sure.
Yeah, he was on my list as well. Both of those players actually were. And I see people in chat saying Adam Lowry as well, another player who the Jets are looking for more from, in my opinion, going into this Game 7. And a player who has historically been a very strong playoff performer. So it's been a bit of a shock that he's only scored the empty net goals and has lost his minutes at times as well, especially on the road. Everyone's lost their minutes on the road. That's not a groundbreaking take, but Adam Lowry, I think, dodged a bullet on our trending down as well. Lyss, do you have?
Yeah, no, I also think he's hurting. Both him and Josh, I would not be surprised if there was something that was kind of they're grappling with a little bit.
Sure. That was trending up or trending down. Thank you everyone in chat for participating. We really appreciate it. And like I said, while you're down there, drop a like. We will get to our one burning question segment later on in the episode. But yeah, over 330 people now with us live on YouTube. Thank you everyone for joining us here at 9:20 a.m. on a Sunday, Game 7 Sunday. drop a like down below. We would really appreciate it. I know you guys, we started the show with a bit of a vibe check on Game 7, but let's dive kind of into the X's and O's on what needs to go better for the Winnipeg Jets today, what they tactically need to do better if they're going to beat the St. Louis Blues. And we can have the Connor Hellebuyck discussion as well, because I think that's the biggest thing going into today. But Jacob, I'll start this one with you. Like, what's one thing that the Jets have maybe struggled with when they're on the road, done really well at home, and they'll have to continue that today in Game 7 in your eyes to get the win?
What's one thing they've done well?
Yeah, in their home games that has allowed them to win.
Well, at home, they've been able to actually like spend prolonged stretches of the game in the offensive zone. Like that's been one part of it. I'm more looking at this like if you want to know where I think that they need how they can win this game, they need to have their best players activated, and the best way to do that, I think, is to just put them out there for longer. So what I mean by that is Adam Lowry should be playing more than Nemesnikov, in my opinion. Like if Scheifele's playing,
sure.
So like. What I mean by that is, like, I think you should run the Lowry's, Ehlers, and Perfetti line. Like, you need Lowry and Ehlers have had a great sample size together. Is it the traditional look? No, but Nemesnikov's not a 2C or a 1C fill-in. Lowry's not a 2C fill-in either, right? So you have to have your best players on the ice. That's just the reality. I expect Morrissey to play like 35 minutes. One thing that I thought they did really well, and there's a caveat here because we don't know if Scheifele's playing, but let's say he is. Towards the end of the series, Scheifele was getting absolutely ragdolled, and so was Connor and Morrissey. But if you've watched Mark Scheifele enough, you know that he absorbs contact and leverages it better than actually anyone, one of the best in the league, and in this series especially, right? So if there's any silver lining, if Mark Scheifele's playing, I think him and Connor, the Jets having last change, like I think that line's going to cook, because virtually every time at home they have, Game 5 he was knocked out of it, but for the most part, the games 1 and 2, like Connor and Scheifele put on a clinic, and I think the table's set for that again tonight if Scheifele plays.
Yes, and I also think to piggyback off of the matchup thing, one thing I thought the Winnipeg Jets have done a lot better in their home games has been in the neutral zone. I feel like on the road, the Blues just have numbers, they have time, they have space in the neutral zone off the rush, and that's leading to a lot of chances off the rush and then prolonged ozone shifts for the Blues. In Winnipeg, it's been a Dylan Sandberg masterclass in games 2 and 4, but I think the whole team in games 1, 2, and 5, the home games, of course, they've clogged up the neutral zone. And you see it in the low shot totals as well for the St. Louis Blues in the games in Winnipeg. It's because they're not even entering the zone. They're shutting plays down. The Jets are at their own blue line, getting the puck up, getting in transition. And I think having last change and having one of Josh Morrissey and Dylan Sandberg on the ice at all times against all of the elite players on the St. Louis Blues is going to pay dividends in doing that again today, clogging up the neutral zone and making sure not only are the Blues having these prolonged ozone shifts where we know the Jets need to clear the front of the net and things like that, but clogging up the neutral zone before they even get there, which I think is something they've done really well, especially in Game 5. Like the back half of Game 5, I thought they absolutely clogged up the neutral zone and the Blues had absolutely no space. So I think if they can replicate that a little bit today in Game 7 is like tight checking. Every game is like 2-1, like the game last night against Dallas and Colorado was 3-2. Like it's usually very low scoring. So if the Jets can clog up the neutral zone, I like their chances in this game as bad as they played in Game 6. Lyss, what's one thing tactically you think the Jets have done well at home and will have to continue to do today?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys touched on a lot of the more important pieces, and this is a team that likes to play really structured hockey, and what's been hard about the St. Louis Blues is that they've been able to cook the Jets a bit off the rush for sure, but then also a lot of their highest danger chances have come from that like sustained zone possession, those like cycling the puck, high screens, whatever, which is like, you look at like the LA Kings or whatever, and some teams are just a lot better off the rush versus in zone and vice versa, whatever. But St. Louis has been able to kind of turn themselves into a threat in both of those different areas. So I think you mentioned the part about clogging up the neutral zone, I think is huge for kind of negating that more of those rush chances and whatnot. Yeah. But I think the way they manage the pucks on the boards below their own goal line is going to be like massive today. I think it's going to be huge because I think if it's the same way, it's kind of the give and take, right? Because St. Louis, if this were a St. Louis Blues show, I'd be saying the same thing, because the last thing you want is to lose a board battle to Gabe Velarde down low below the net. He passes it back up to Josh Morrissey, and all of a sudden you have that 5-man unit cycling the puck around. You know what that line is able to do when they get that sustained ozone pressure. So I think the Jets also need to be mindful of that for watching St. Louis set up in that way, because once the puck is cycling down there, like, you're stuck with the guys you have out there. Last change doesn't matter as soon as the puck is cycling and they have their guys out there that they want out there moving that puck around, right? So I think that's going to be huge. And I think a couple people have mentioned this in the chat, but this isn't exactly like a tactical thing, but I think they also need to play a little bit more Alex Iafallo out there. I'm not pleased that he's been demoted to the degree that he has. I think he's a guy who should be injected into that middle six, regardless of what you think Mason Appleton or Nino Niederreiter or whoever is doing. I
agree.
I think he needs to be playing a little bit more. Really, that's shocking, Jacob, that you agree.
I want more Dylan Sandberg, and Lyss wants more Cole Perfetti.
Well, and then
shocking.
the last thing I will say.
While we're at it, put Morgan Barron as 2C. Just
right. Yes.
While you're taking orders.
Jacob
last thing I will say on the is that this team, like I started this mini rant and monologue with, loves to play structured hockey. We've talked about this. When you control your lineups a bit more, and in game 2, Logan Stanley played, 10 minutes or something like that? Yeah. That's 50 minutes of Dylan Sandberg or Josh Morrissey on the left-hand side. You are able to throw whatever line you want out there and run breakouts up the left side of the ice, right? Like, you can play a little bit more of that structured hockey, because, we talk about like chemistry between D partners and a goalie because of how much they have to read off of one another. And there was, what goal was it in game 6? That it was a huge miscue between the defense with Dylan DeMello and whoever else it was. If you can have, you as a forward, doesn't matter what line you're playing on, knowing what's going to happen because of who's on the left-hand side of the ice. With I think there's some solace in that. So I am looking forward to that. Everyone in the chat is asking about line rushes at 9:30. So we'll just be, guys, we're on it. Don't you worry. When we find out,
we're on it. So we actually did just get some news. Mitch Clinton reporting that no Mark Scheifele at the Winnipeg Jets morning skate. Ken Weeb saying that as well. Kelly Moore, CJOB. What?
Kelly Moore predicted that he'd play. We look like he.
Yeah, I know. So
he's out.
10 minutes ago is cooked. Well, no. He's still a game time call, but this is not a good sign. Yeah.
Well, if he was in concussion protocol, which I don't think it's still confirmed that he was or wasn't, but if he doesn't take morning skate, if he was in concussion protocol, he wouldn't be eligible to play tonight anyway.
Really?
Yeah. I was reading some random things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Like, it has to.
Yeah.
All right. So
we won't hear from Arneal on this program. He's probably just going to say still game time decision as a little bit of gamesmanship, but this is not a good sign.
I'm changing my prediction. I don't
yes, me too.
I don't think he's playing. I don't think.
If he's not on morning skate.
Yeah, me too.
So can we discuss this, guys? Like, this is
massive. Let's discuss this. Yeah.
All right.
No Mark Scheifele. Your initial thoughts, Jacob. Go ahead.
I'm gonna be careful with my words here. I think this is really bad. I think this is really bad, guys. All series long, we've talked about who the X factor is, and it's number 37. But I've seen 6 games now where he hasn't been that. And along this whole series, the 2 guys that have an X factors are Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm not disrespecting the games Dylan Sandberg had and some other great moments, but we're talking about changing the course of a game. We all know that Kyle Connor is a better hockey player with Mark Scheifele.
Yep.
You don't think so, Lyss?
No. Looks like Logan Stanley is also out. So for folks who aren't following live on Twitter or anything, looks like Hayden Fleury is going to be in for Logan Stanley, but we shall see. Jacob, continue.
Okay, that's interesting too, actually. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
You take Scheifele out of the equation now, and you've got Connor, who the beauty of that duo is that Connor always finds open space, and Scheifele is an elite, precise passer. So that sort of duo is gone off the cycle. If assuming that Mark Scheifele's out, You have Nemesnikov, and now you play straight lined with Kyle Connor and Velarde. It's a different game completely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the power play changes too. I'm worried hearing that. And we talk about X factors, and this is a long-winded point here. But what I was trying to say is Mark Scheifele's been the X factor, in my opinion, for this team.
Mm-hmm.
Like during this series, has been Hellebuyck. Kyle Connor's had some great moments.
Yeah,
and he's right there with. But I think it's been Scheifele. Like, I don't know. That's horrible news.
Yeah, not good news. Well, yeah, not out there for morning skate. Like you said, Lyss, Logan Stanley also not on the ice for morning skate. The third pairing in line rushes with Fleury and Shen.
He's not even on the ice, Stanley?
No, not on the ice.
So he's injured?
As per Kelly Moore of CJOB. Yeah. And
I'm seeing, yeah, it looks like, no, yeah, he's not on the ice at all. Hanel and Miller is running as the fourth pairing. So,
yeah.
Did my camera die?
You are frozen. You are frozen. So.
But while we're here, I can read off the center. Oh my gosh, the forward lines for everybody. So it's Connor, Nemesnikov, Velarde, which makes a lot of sense based on what we saw last game. Ehlers, Lowry, Perfetti, which based on what we said today, we believe to be good news. Niederreiter, Barron, Appleton, Tanev, Toninato, Iafallo. Mm-hmm. So that leaves Gustafsson, Kapari, and Jared Anderson Dolan as the healthy scratches on the forward group. So I don't know, Connor. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like Connor, Nemesnikov, Velarde, I thought had a good game 5 here in Winnipeg. Like they had some really good moments. Nemesnikov obviously had the goal, and you picked him for trending up, and I agree with that pick. I like the Ehlers, Lowry, Perfetti line as well. I thought they had some good moments at 5-on-5. As for the fourth line the third line as well. I mean, you know what they're going to do. Morgan Barron in the middle of Niederreiter and Appleton. They're going to be shutting down the Blues' best players, etc. Tanev, Toninato, Iafallo. Again, I'd like to see that maybe shortened a little bit in a game 7. Like have Iafallo up in these moments and playing a little bit more in that middle 6. As for the third pair, I see people freaking out already. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If the Winnipeg Jets are going to win game 7, it's not going to be because it's going to be because Josh Morrissey was incredible and Dylan Sandberg was incredible and Kyle Connor had 2 goals and Connor Hellebuyck made 25 saves. This is how your best players need to be your best players. I know it's like very cliche, but I don't look at the bottom of the lineup as much. I know playoffs, every single little detail is magnified, but I think this game falls squarely on the shoulders of Connor Hellebuyck, in my opinion, especially going up against Jordan Binnington, who we know his stats in a winner-take-all game 7, which I actually have here. I can bring that up in a second. But what are your thoughts on the forward lines list?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned before we saw these that I want to see more of Iafallo. So I would love to see even something like a flip of him and Appleton, I think would change the fabric of this a little bit. I'm pretty uninspired by that fourth line, if I'm going to be honest with you. Brandon Tanev was also on my trending down list if I didn't have time to, or if someone had taken my other choices. So I'm not overly inspired by it, especially considering how, like, if you want to go apples to apples here, like St. Louis's fourth line has been much more impactful in the large scheme of things than Winnipeg's has. So, and I don't really foresee that changing with this makeup the way it is now. There's no finish to be found on that fourth line at all, but it is what it is. Couple things, a couple people like asking about the concussion and everything like that. Like, we don't know, like, obviously, like, this is not something that's been disclosed. We're just saying that if they were to be following that protocol, this is what the outcome kind of would be. But my opinion is that if Mark Scheifele were to be playing tonight, it would be Rasmus Kapari taking line rushes in that top line, right, as more of a placeholder, and then you do your line rushes with Nemesnikov where he's actually going to play, Lowry where he's actually going to play, whatever. The fact that this is the configuration of the top 12 forwards here means to me that this is what they're going to run in the game. The Fleury Shen one, I have a little bit like if Stanley's just taking a maintenance practice, whatever, that could be. The fact that he's not on the ice, though, I find very fascinating, and you don't really take a maintenance day on morning skate of game 7. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I agree that the really low in the lineup depth pieces, it should be negligible. Nothing matters unless guys with Connor in the name have a big game, straight up.
Yeah. Guys with Connor need to have a big day.
Connor, get out there.
That's
Mr. Hrabchak.
I got it, guys.
Lace
Top
them up.
line.
They need you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the one, C.
Yeah. Oh, that would be rough. Jacob, your thoughts on the line rushes that we just got? Basically the exact same lines, except for Fleury in on the third pair for Stanley. The same lines as Game 6. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm kind of with Lyss. This is the least important thought, but it comes to mind about the fourth line and also Tanev. I didn't think he was great last game either. But the most important things, look, I think I kind of touched on it before. With Nemestikov as the 2C, with Connor and Vilardi, that line is not very dangerous or much of a threat, in my opinion. I hope they prove me wrong, and I'm on old takes exposed, but we kind of learned how much Mark Scheifele is the straw that stirs the drink here, right? So I think that second line is going to be really key tonight. Ehlers, Lowry, Perfetti, they got to get a goal. That needs to be an offensive driver. I'm curious to see, at what point in this game, if it's going south, does Arniel flip back to, Ehlers, Nemestikov, Perfetti, Lowry, Appleton, Niederreiter, and then the double shifts Nemestikov or Lowry with the top line? I don't know. I'm wondering how much room is going to be given to this line or how patient or impatient he'll be, because this is it. This entire season comes down to tonight. Yeah. And, you don't have your number one center. All right, so what are you going to do about it? Yeah. Part of it's out of their control, I will say. I do think that, but you have to be different. You have to be innovative, and you have to maximize people's minutes.
Their top 6 wingers are going to have a huge impact on this game. Like Connor, Vilardi.
Connor needs to have 9 shots.
That is very true.
There was a game a few weeks ago when either he hadn't scored in a while or something. I don't know. And I think
9 shots.
Yeah. That game. Bring that back. That was so funny to watch.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Here's the
John
thing too. One more thing I'll say.
Go for it.
And another one.
Trending up, down, sideways, who knows? Hopefully Ehlers' ankle's feeling better, because if that guy's got a little or leg, what was that? We don't even know officially.
I don't know.
Who's to say?
I assume ankle because he got the puck off of it and fell and tripped.
Again, we're not doctors. I mean, we can comment.
Monty got his medical degree.
But...
Yeah. I studied with Monty actually.
Right.
But if Ehlers gets a bit of that rust off, that's what the Jets need. And this is a player that hasn't succeeded in the playoffs, don't get me wrong. But as Arniel always says when he's asked about Ehlers, just his speed backs up defenders. And if that can just be a way for them to get into the zone, that's what this team needs in a game like that, where you don't have Mark Scheifele. Therefore, Scheifele and Connor aren't as effective, and you have to change things up. Ehlers' speed is going to be really important, especially on the power play entries too. Scheifele.
I do like the power play. And going into Game 6, I texted you guys in our group chat that there's no center on the power play. Gabe Vilardi's taking the draw, but he's obviously a winger in regular line rushes. I like the fact that they're just putting their 5 best players on the power play and they figure it out. It's Vilardi, Connor, Perfetti, Ehlers, Morrissey, which, Scheifele's usually on the left side. Now I think it's Ehlers on that side, and he's kind of curling and coming down the wing. Vilardi's obviously at the side of the net. Perfetti's more in the bumper. Connor on his one-time side. Morrissey at the point. I like that they just kind of put their 5 best, most talented players on the ice on the power play and say, all right, this is the system. Go score. And it worked. I thought the power play was great. They went 2 for 6. The second unit scored 1. But I thought even in the ones that they didn't score, they had good zone time, good chances, things like that. Lyss.
It was so weird, because, you talk about, Jacob, you mentioned Gabe Vilardi, how, we haven't really seen him yet. And, maybe that's a secret threat or whatever you want to call it. But I always have found it fascinating that the Winnipeg Jets power play, we watch it under a microscope and we watch every single rep over and over and over again. And the whole Josh Morrissey from behind the net, anytime there's a clearing attempt and they get to set up in the way they want, pass up to Mark Scheifele, who carries it up the ice, gives it to Kyle Connor at the line, and in they go. Nikolai Ehlers is not involved in the zone entry on the power play, like basically whatsoever when they set up the way they want to set up. But it's like, that's like a nice thing to kind of just have in your back pocket where it's like, oh, all of a sudden Mark Scheifele's not here. Good thing we have one of the most elite offensive zone entry players in the league that we can sort of get involved here because he just wasn't involved before or whatever, which is kind of funny. But yeah, no, I could definitely see some more looks from that power play for sure, especially if Gabe Vilardi can oil up those wrists a little bit and we can see a little bit more of that one touch passing action in front of the net. Or hey, if he wants to do it between the legs and roof a goal too, I don't think any of us are going to complain.
Right. And again, Mark Scheifele's not officially out yet, but if you're just joining us, he's not at morning skate. He's not in the line rushes. That's usually a pretty bad sign as to a player's availability for the game. It's also game 7 tonight. And like Lyss said, you don't take a maintenance day on the morning of game 7 if you're planning on playing. One thing I will say, I mentioned earlier how this game is going to be won and lost in the neutral zone and goaltending. I mean, obviously, but the neutral zone is something I'm really focusing on. With no Mark Scheifele, that is like the Jets need to dominate the neutral zone if they're going to win this game. Like they need to.
They have to chip and chase, but they actually have to be able to get the puck.
I more mean defensively. Like I'm more mean.
Sorry, I totally misunderstood
shutting the Blues down. Yeah.
Sorry.
Offensively too. I mean, that's fair.
But I know the point you're making. I kibosh that.
No, you're good. You're good.
Makes sense.
I mean you're good. The offensive part of it too, like. Mark Scheifele is good at managing space coming into the zone with Kyle Connor as well. That's a big thing. Like, can that first line figure out a way to enter the zone during the game?
Well, Connor also too, he's the only one that's been able to crack the code of the Blues defense clogging. Like that pass, that game-winning goal from Kyle Connor was the set play where he takes speed, goes up, and finds the seam at the perfect moment. That hasn't happened this year to some other guys because the Blues they've got big. I remember Elliot Friedman said on 32 Thoughts during the deadline, friend of the show, Elliot Friedman, said that the Jets wanted mobile beef. Remember, as a defenseman, that was the term.
That.
What's this thumbs up thing?
MacBook.
I
shut mine off, I think.
Good take.
Oh my god, that's ridiculous.
Good take. Jacob Stoller approved. Elliot Friedman approved.
We'll do a peace sign. So mobile beef, and you look at the Blues. That's what they are. They are big, hulking, physical, and they can move. So that's been a problem all series to the Jets, and Scheifele's the only one that's been able to get through it. So I think he's got to crash the net too at some point as well. Sure. Like at some point, it's like just throw it there and just pray you get a touch on it.
Yeah,
because
I mean, and that's the thing that's so perimeter, interesting to me.
One last thing, I find there's been too many point shots.
Another one. Sorry.
Yeah, there's been too many point shots in the Jets.
Yeah, no, and if you're gonna take point shots, whatever, like you gotta clog up the middle of the ice the way St. Louis does. Like, and I just find it fascinating that like the Winnipeg Jets just love their set plays, and this was the argument, but the conversation we had when Gabe Vilardi was making his return to the lineup in terms of like, okay, like is he gonna go back up to that top line? Is he gonna need a bit more of a load managed role or whatever? And to me, it kept coming back to who else has he played with this year? And like this team, like the Kyle Connor game winner that you're talking about there, like that's a set play that they've attempted many times over the course of the year, that they've successfully executed on over the course of the year. Like they have a lot of things, like the whole galaxy brain connected, whatever. And you remove one guy from that equation, you can't just create that fusion with someone else automatically. So I'm a little bit worried about too much of the fancy if you don't have the right guys that you built the fancy based on their skills. Like, I think you need to, like you said, kind of just crash the net and all those sorts of things. Cause like in terms of how physical this series has been and how aggressive the Blues have been in this series, like the Winnipeg Jets have not matched their dog. And I think they have the horses to do it. They just haven't really, whether it's the fact that Lowry's maybe not 100%, if we want to speculate on that, or Luke Shen is, I don't even know. Like they haven't really, like, no real fights and no real, like, this hasn't been a super like aggressive series from the Winnipeg Jets. And if I'm the St. Louis Blues, I'm not overly afraid of anyone on the Jets, you know?
Sure.
You know what the craziest part as we sit here? This could all be irrelevant if Hellebuyck was winning a game for them.
Well, I know that's the biggest thing, right? It's like we're sitting here and like everyone in the chat is bringing up Connor Hellebuyck and stuff. And it's like, we want to talk about all the pieces and talk about the depth, the stars, all this. It's like, we know that at the end of the day.
But like, this whole series is different if it's not him. And like, we can dance around it. Like I'll say this: the first 2 games, I didn't think Hellebuyck was bad. There was some soft goals. There was like I just relatively, I don't think he was horrible. From then on, like there were some timely saves. What I'm trying to say, the Kyrou breakaway, point blank 3 scoring chances. I think it was game 2 off the hop, kept the Jets in it. Connor Hellebuyck has not been playing an acceptable level right now, and we can dance away from it, and we can look at all these little things. But the craziest thing that we've somehow come to overlook because of how poor, not overlook, but just understand, is Jets can't trust them. Like these things, like you should, with a guy that's nominated for the Hart as a goaltender, you lose your number 1 center, devastating, but you should say, okay, hell, he can steal him a game. We have not seen even a glimmer of that. And I want to make something clear. Save percentage goes down in the playoffs. Andrei Vasilevsky, over the last 3 years, he's been sub 900 for save percentage. Generally, too, like that's kind of the threshold as well, that it goes quite a bit lower. But the goals against with Hellebuyck and just the way the goals are going in, there's no confidence. There's no confidence in watching the timing. Yeah. The
timing. Like, not only was that Braden Shen goal, I thought, bad, but in game 5, the Jets are up 2-1. Mark Scheifele's out to start the second period, and Jimmy Snuggerud beats Connor Hellebuyck on a ice burner short side shot, weak shot to the and Connor Hellebuyck's just out of position. Like, that can't happen. You're on home ice. You just lost your top line center, and it's a relatively easy shot. The Jets keep him to the outside, and he shoots it along the ice, short side. Like, you have to have that. If you're Calvin Pickard or you're Connor Hellebuyck, you need to have that. So
I agree.
It's hard to comprehend Connor Hellebuyck being being the discussion about Connor Hellebuyck going into a game 7. But make no mistake, there is no player, Jets or Blues, or even like in the NHL, under more pressure than Connor Hellebuyck is going into this game 7. Absolutely not. And it's not even close. He has the most to gain and he has the most to lose. And without Mark Scheifele, it's going to be up to him to bring more of the style of game that he's brought at home. Obviously on the road, it's just been an avalanche of goals every time. But
the last thing I will say on this, though, too, is Connor Hellebuyck talks about how he studies goaltending a lot, more than anyone. You've seen 6 games now of what's beating you. You need to see the puck faster. Your defensemen may not be doing their job, but there comes a point where there's onus on you to read the situation. And I'm not frustrated. I'm just saying it's a bit of a frustrating quote to see that, because like this guy saying that, oh, I'm dialed in, I'm doing this, but it's like not good enough.
Yeah.
Same goal you're getting beat on.
What I've been saying for so long, where it's like you look at every single goal and you're like, oh, like here's what went wrong with the forward and the guy and the this. It's like, but does that not happen anytime? That never happened once over 82 games. Never happened. Like,
exactly.
I don't know about that.
It happened frequently, just that Hellebuyck was able to save the puck. And that's where it's not frequently, maybe, but what I'm trying to say is Arneal was like, after maybe it was last game, saying coverage goals, right? Bad line change, bad this, bad that. Those are all true. But let's go back to the regular season. Let's go watch his great saves. Are we going to go say, great save, but you know what? The save shouldn't even have to happen. Bad coverage before. Hockey is a game of where there are mistakes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The more we won and lost in the chaos, always.
So the more we want to pinpoint it as to reasons of, oh, that's why Hellebuyck's letting it in. No, stop. He has to stop the puck, and he hasn't been. That is the reality. I just feel like I'm like gaslit every time I'm discussing this with some people, because I agree the Jets defensemen in front of them haven't been as good. Game 1 to 3, like I see that, but there comes a point where you have to evolve.
Well, and this is
7 games. We're in game 7. You can't lay an egg the same way in game 7.
100%.
And then say you study the goaltending position better than anyone.
We've talked about this where it was like elite teams, and this is a Sean Reynoldsism, right? Where it's like elite teams have to find different ways to win, as silly as that sounds. But like Connor Hellebuyck, if this is an elite hockey team, Connor Hellebuyck can come out and play a 950 save percentage game or whatever and win his team a game when they're not playing well. And then the next game, if he's not playing well, guess what? Kyle Connor hat trick and everything. Like, you find different ways to compensate for guys not having a really great game. And the Winnipeg Jets haven't been able to do that when Connor Hellebuyck hasn't been playing well. But also, they've relied on Connor Hellebuyck. He's saved them many, many games. And if that's part of your rhythm, that's part of your expectation, and that's what your baseline is. Like, over the course of 7 games, Connor Hellebuyck hasn't played game-stealing level goaltender at all. So,
right. Yeah, absolutely. And look, I agree with people in the chat who are saying, we can analyze this, analyze that. It all comes down to the goaltending tonight. That's obviously the biggest swing for both teams. And Jordan Binnington has been in this situation before, for sure. We're going to get to one burning question in just a second here, but we're going to let Jacob go. He's got to go get ready for the game. Sportsnet.ca, Big J Journo. Jacob, enjoy the game today, and thanks for joining us this morning. Have a good one.
See you guys later. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Have a good one. Yes. Okay, there it is. Jacob Stoller. Let me sort this out. Lyss, we need to get to one burning question. Let's do that in a second here as I update the layout and make sure. I do have a few things just to say on the chat room.
I was gonna say,
there's almost 500 people here today. Easily our biggest show. Thank you everyone for joining us. You want to know why it's our biggest show? Because there's no St. Louis sports talk. And
that's upsetting.
There's been 3 or 4 comments like, why aren't you talking about the Blues? This is Winnipeg sports talk. Winnipeg sports talk. Okay. I am not talking about Hrabchak Faksa on the 4th line.
I'm good. I don't want to talk about Tyler Tucker. I'm good. I'm
good. I'm not talking about the Suter Leddy third pair and how that can change a game 7. All right. Go to St. Louis sports talk. Go to ESPN. I don't know where you get your sports news.
It is wonderful to have so many of them though here. Like, I have had really, really positive interactions. Obviously there have been a few in the chat today that, but it's one of those things that reminds me of like when you're coaching or you have kids or whatever, and they're like, well, this girl said this or this boy said that and that and that, and he said all these things, and it's like, oh, okay, and you just didn't say anything back. Or you were perfect. You didn't do anything. It's like when Jets fans are like, oh, Blues fans this, Blues fans that. Are you guys showing up in St. Louis Blue spaces and doing the same thing? I'm just curious because I think you are. And that's okay. Yeah, that's what the playoffs is all about. And I'm loving having everybody here. And as long as we're always, keeping it respectful, which I sure hope we are. And if you're not, then I'll boot you out of the chat here. And it is what it is. But it's super nice to have everyone here. And that is my favorite part of playoff hockey, is getting to lock into another market. And I've learned a lot from engaging with St. Louis media over the course of the last 2 weeks.
For sure. And I will say last year, the Colorado Avalanche fans were very respectful in the first round. Obviously, their team destroyed the Jets, so it was easy for them to be so kind. And this year, when Remus and I have done the post-game shows, they've been very respectful as well. And people so far today keep it very respectable. I've just seen a few comments like, why aren't you talking about the Blues third pair? It's like, well...
And my favorite one from, I don't even know what the username is, but somebody like, oh, well, there's nothing else to talk about in Winnipeg at 8:00 in the morning on a Sunday. You know what? We have, 500 people, almost 500 people here, over 475 people watching, because if you love hockey, we want to provide you an opportunity to listen, to talk about it, and all these fun things. And we love hockey. We want to talk about it. We would go live 12 hours of the day if we could and never run out of things to talk about, because of how much we just love talking about the X's and O's of NHL hockey. So, you know what? Apparently you also want to be here at 9:00 in the morning on a Sunday. And so we welcome you here. And we're having a blast. And we're so fortunate in Winnipeg to have so much content at all times, so many live shows, so much written content. Very, very fortunate in a small network and here, small area, to have such qualitative content everywhere.
Absolutely. And we did get a super chat list from T. Konapoli. $20. WST legend. He says, it don't matter how the team plays in front of you. As a goalie, you're the last line of defense and expected to make the saves. Hope Helly studied for tonight. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, T. Konapoli. We really appreciate it. Very loyal WSTer, both on the big show and here on WST Sunday Live. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Lyss, let's get to one burning question here. Let's do it. The chat, there's over 500 people. People want to know about the Suter Leddy third pair. So let's let them ask, right? This is one burning question, the part of the show where we throw it to you, the chat room, to drop your question down below. Now, there's going to be a lot of them. There's almost 500 people here in chat. Thank you everyone for joining us. But hit the chat room, drop a question down below that you want us to answer. And we're going to have to rapid fire through these very, very quickly so that we don't get carried away on certain questions. But again, one burning question. We love this segment. The chat room opens it up, drops a ton of questions. And while you're down there, make sure you hit the like button as well. Lyss, my one burning question to you, I've seen some people say, the whiteout is a big advantage as well. How much of an advantage do you think this crowd behind me in my green screen can be for this Winnipeg Jets group in a winner take all game 7?
Wait, you're not there right now? That's
I'm
a live
there.
background?
People are
Oh,
already
okay.
going nuts. Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, I think the recency example I want to give is last night in Dallas, right? Colorado goes into that third period up 2-0, and a lot of us, myself included, thought that Colorado, who I still consider to be the better team in terms of the players they iced in that lineup, had it in the bag. I really did. And the pushback starts from Dallas, and all of a sudden, I was saying this to my brother who I was watching with, it's like, if you're the Colorado Avalanche, it feels like everyone in the world is against you in a moment like that, right? Where the momentum on the ice is not on your side when Dallas scores not just 1 goal, but then 2 goals there. And everybody in the crowd is looking for every little thing to go wrong for you. And just, it was really hard for the Colorado Avalanche to come back last night when just things weren't going their way. I think that game would have looked a little bit differently if they had been played at Ball Arena. I really do. So I'm sure hoping that there could be a little bit of push that comes from the crowd and having that home ice advantage. We talk about the last change all the time, and to me that's the biggest part of home ice advantage for sure, but you can't understate how much a crowd can really propel a team forward if they need to. So I sure hope that it has an impact on the group tonight in a positive way.
And I did a live hit from the rink yesterday when the Jets didn't skate, but we did hear from Scott O'Neill and Mark Scheifele was on the ice and things like that. And I was saying, like, I think the weather is going to really help this crowd. As weird as it sounds, if it was like 13 degrees and pouring rain today, I think the vibes would be down a little bit, especially coming out of game 6. It's going to be gorgeous today. The street parties are going to be nuts. And the crowd inside the building is going to be nuts as well. Prior to puck drop, I'm expecting those MVP chants for Connor Hellebuyck to be super, super loud. So it's going to be a big one. And I think the crowd's going to bring it for that. Absolutely. Let's get to the questions list. And remember, we need to rapid fire these because I already see there's too many. How important is the first goal tonight? Very important in any game 7, but especially so for the Jets. I feel like without Scheifele getting the crowd into it, there's a lot of reasons why the first goal would be very important tonight. So there were 2 questions here about how big is the first goal. In any game 7, it's huge, but I see the vision that it's more important.
For sure. And I think especially with the way that momentum has played such a part in this series where if St. Louis has scored a goal, then they've scored 3. I think getting a little bit of a cushion early on could be huge because instead of, that second period breakdown, if that were to happen again, if they score 3 goals really quickly, there's a big difference between a 3-goal lead and a 2-goal lead, right? So I think getting any of those cushions, capitalizing on any of that luck that you can is just so massive because it's crazy to see. And this was, again, the same thing in the Colorado Dallas game last night and in many, many games over the course of this NHL playoffs, which has been awesome so far, just to say.
Oh, yeah.
You can have all the momentum in the world on your side. And if you're not finishing those chances and the other team turns around and scores the other way on the counterattack, oh boy, can you change the makeup of a game very, very quickly. So I think it's really important for the Jets to actually capitalize pretty early.
Yeah, I agree with you. Darth Skater, very loyal WST Sunday live listener with another great question. He always comes with the great questions on Sundays. Which non-goalie Jet are you most rooting for to have a career-defining great game? Lyss, I mean, this one is a layup for me. It's my guy.
Then you go first. Go ahead.
Dylan Samberg.
It's so funny.
I'm rooting for my guy.
I was going to say.
Cole Perfetti.
I was going to say Cole Perfetti. I think it'd be huge for Cole Perfetti to have such a great game tonight. But listen, if you want to talk about career-defining great game, Nikolai Ehlers is coming up on a contract this year, and it may not be with the Winnipeg Jets. And this is a guy who's been ragged on for not being a playoff performer for much of his career. Mm-hmm. If Nikolai Ehlers were to have a season-defining, career-defining, if you want to go that far, game tonight, I don't think anyone would be upset.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Let's get to some of there's a lot of questions. I can't bring them all up at once, but about Colin Miller, Lyss. I did say after the game 6 post-game show with Remus, I did say on that I'd like to see Colin Miller in the lineup for either of Stanley or Schenn. Clearly Fleury is slated to come in on that third pair. I don't know. We haven't heard from Scott O'Neill yet as to, why Logan Stanley missed morning skate, but the third pairing in line rushes was Hayden Fleury and Luke Schenn. Would you have wanted to see Colin Miller or want to see Colin Miller?
Yeah, I would like to see Colin Miller. I just think that the handedness of the defenseman has played a massive factor in some of these decision-making roles, and I wanted to see him in over Luke Schenn, and I didn't care who the third pairing left-handed defenseman was. I think Colin Miller, both last year and this year, like I think he's been wonderful for the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs. I think Colin Miller's had a good season this year kind of across the board. Don't really understand why he gets the short end of the stick in terms of the decision making. And listen, like if you're expecting XYZ out of Luke Shannon and Logan Stanley, if you haven't gotten it in 6 games so far, I don't really know what you're expecting to be different in this game. And obviously it looks like Logan Stanley might not even play. So I don't even care what the makeup of the third pairing were to look like. It's not really reflective of the partner to me. I think Colin Miller should be in the lineup. He's not going to be. Yep. We know that. But yeah, it's very, very interesting to me. And I don't think I fully get it. I think at my core, I do, where they're like, they want the physicality or whatever you want to call it. But like, we just straight up haven't seen that, especially in a situation where, in a series where there's been room for it. St. Louis has been poking them with a stick, being like, come on, egging them on. They've been throwing everything that they can at them in terms of physicality and aggression. And the Jets just haven't really bitten, for better or for worse. And I think that it's very, very strange, but the TLDR, Colin Miller should be in the lineup, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. I will say, like, Adam Lowry took the penalty. I forget, all the road games are just one long game, but he took a penalty on the road and the Blues went on the power play and scored on it. And it was like a post whistle scrum where he's grabbing the guy. I did see a few questions here. Let me try and find one about like reffing, officiating, and like how many post whistle scrums there will be, if there will be a fight. I feel like game 7, the energy changes a little bit. Like, let's take the Four Nations. Blues fans in chat will love to talk about the Four Nations. The Saturday Canada-US game was nuts. 3 fights, tons of post whistle scrums, penalties. Then the game settled down and they played. But like, there was that immediate emotion of just like, we're going to fight. We're all going to punch each other in the face. This game really means nothing. It's a round robin game, etc. Yes, it did mean something, but the 2 teams met in the finals anyways, whatever. Then in the finals, everyone's like, oh, here comes round 2. But like, that game was way more important. So there was no fights. And the post whistle scrums, there's a lot less. It was more just like focused on the hockey. So there's been a ton of post whistle scrums in this series. I would expect those to continue. But as for the like post whistle scrums getting to the point where there's like penalties being called, I think you'll see that toned down. And I don't think we see any fights, as much as like it's a game 7 and it's like such an important game and like it's so hyped up there could be a fight. I just think it's too important of a game for any player to take themselves out for 5 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like I don't think the Winnipeg Jets are just that like hot-headed of a group where like you saw it kind of come to a head in what was it, game 3 in particular, where there was a lot of shenanigans near the end of the game. But like, other than a guy who I don't believe will be playing tonight, they don't really take a lot of those undisciplined calls. And again, for better or for worse, right? Because sometimes you need to have Adam Lowry go after whoever it is on the Ottawa Senators after clocking Mason Appleton in February or whatever it was. Like sometimes if you think that that's what's going to fire up the group, especially considering the fact that it does fire up this group, they'll win a game 7-1 and they'll turn around and be like, oh yeah, the best play of the game was when Adam went out and fought someone or whatever, like they do take a lot of value in that. I think it does fire them up, but it's like, what's more important? And yeah, I definitely don't think that anyone on the team is going to be overly eager to spend 5 minutes in the box for no reason tonight.
Yeah. And I see more people asking about Mark Scheifele as well. If you're just joining us, he is not on the ice at morning skate right now. Colin Miller. Scott O'Neill said yesterday that Mark Scheifele will be a game time decision. We'll see if he provides any more updates on Mark Scheifele, who didn't take morning skate and is obviously, that's not a good sign for his availability for tonight. But stay glued to @SportsTalkWPG on Twitter, on Instagram for the latest updates on Mark Scheifele's status going into this winner take all game 7. Lyss, I think that's going to do it. There's so many questions. Thank you so much, everyone. I tried to group them together there so that we could answer a lot of them at once.
A lot of common themes of the course of the many questions, for sure.
Yeah, about the third pair and the reffing in a game 7 and the crowd and things like that. So that was one burning question. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking part, dropping your questions down below. Like I said, make sure you hit the like button if you're down there already. And Lyss, on the way out here, I just want to talk about, I had Hustler's comment up there just now, and Hustler's in chat. He's fired up for game 7. I know he's ready to go. It's the first ever game 7 played in Winnipeg. It's going to be let me get the exact number actually, because people care about the weather a lot. It's going to be 27 and sunny.
27,
the whiteouts
you say?
27. Nikolai
Big
Ehlers.
game for Nikolai Ehlers.
Nikolai Ehlers time. It's going to be the first ever Game 7 in Winnipeg. It's a gorgeous day in May. The street party is going to be nuts. The building inside is going to be nuts. Remember to breathe, people. It's Game 7. It's high stakes. It's intense. But it's going to be fun. This has been a very fun series. There's been some ups and downs. The Jets have won every game on home ice. You're looking for Connor Hellebuyck to bounce back. You're looking for them to keep up that home ice advantage. And that home ice advantage is partly the crowd. And the crowd was so great in Game 5. I didn't sense any nervous energy in the building going into what was such an important game. The crowd brought it. I'm expecting it to be even more so today, Lyss, in what will be an awesome sports day in Winnipeg, regardless of results. And obviously, if the Jets win, it'll be that much better and that much more of a party.
No, 100%. Like, it's just every time, the hockey season is getting near the end and the sun starts coming out and you shed your winter jacket and all these sorts of things, like, it feels time for whiteout parties. It feels time for exciting playoff hockey. And like, man, oh man, Sarah May brings up a great comment here that like all eyes are going to be on the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues tonight, the same way that they were on Friday, with the lack of games, the lack of series going all the way.
The Jets started the playoffs on Hockey Night in Canada in front of the whiteout, and they're going to end the first round of the playoffs on Hockey Night in Canada in front of the whiteout. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, listen, like, we can spend the last hour and 6 minutes talking about all the different little things that we wanted to talk about, all the big storylines or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, and I don't care how like lame this sounds, but it's like, I love playoff hockey. It's so fun that we get to have it here in our city. It's so fun that we get to sit here and talk about this with hundreds and hundreds of you folks. There are, so many people here watching live in the chat, so many people listening back as their pregame content. And we appreciate all of you so much. It's so fun to be able to talk about this. And it's so fun to watch the city get so on board with something. Jacob was talking about this earlier about how like you can just feel it all the time. Yeah. And it's such a fun time. And for all those reasons, I don't want it to be over yet. So we'll see how the next 12 hours go, because it's going to be a really, really interesting day here in Winnipeg.
It really is. Everyone in chat is saying, I'm way too pessimistic. I'm so nervous. I get it, people. I get it. It's a nerve-wracking day. It could all be over, or it could keep going. The Jets could be playing the Dallas Stars next week. So right here in Winnipeg, because they have home ice. My bracket
is so cooked, just FYI.
There was not okay. I guess we can maybe touch on Colorado and Dallas a little bit. I was so confident in Colorado winning. I don't think I was more confident in any other series.
Agreed.
Than Colorado beating Dallas. And Dallas without Heiskanen, without Robertson, Mikko Rantanen hat trick. Unreal. Like what a Game 7 that was. Setting up this Game 7.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That game was unbelievable. And I was saying to my brother who I was watching with, I was like, it's so fun to watch this without caring who wins, because it's like you were just like, it was just electric, and you didn't have the way everybody is feeling in the chat right now, like that nervousness, that anxiousness, whatever you want to call it. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is cinematic content. Like, this is unbelievable. And it's so fun. Two unbelievably fun hockey teams to watch. And that's my favorite part about this time of the year, right? Is that there are no boring teams left to watch play NHL hockey right now. Every team brings something so fun to the table. And granted, like, I'm so serious when I say, like, I had Tampa winning their series. Granted, I did say whoever wins that series, I think straight up wins the cup, like Florida or Tampa, but I had Tampa winning the cup. So cooked there. Washington was fine, whatever. Carolina, fine, whatever. I had Ottawa taking up the Leafs just because, vibes. But my West, so cooked. I had LA winning. I had Vegas winning, and I had Colorado winning. So, and Vegas, I had losing in the second round to the Los Angeles Kings. So, like, I could not be more screwed in my bracket if I physically tried. So, but hey, there's a reason I don't put any money on sports things, because it would not be a good investment. That's for sure.
I picked the Oilers, and I feel pretty smart for taking that. Everyone was on the Kings, and I was on the Kings too until about 2 days before, and I was like, wait, McDavid and Draisaitl are both playing. I'll just take the Oilers. Like, this feels easy. And hey, I credit to the Kings. I thought, they were one coach's challenge and one chipped puck away from sweeping.
You're always one away from being one away, though.
One away from being one away. And in a Game 7, it's even that much more I don't know. I don't even know what the word is. I'm so fired up for today, Lyss. It's going to be so much fun down at Canada Life Center. I'll be up in the press box. Remus and I will have you covered with the post-game show. So make sure you check that out on the YouTube later. We don't go live like Illegal Curve and KNR. Obviously, everyone will be tuning into those two shows right after the buzzer.
Yeah, because if folks, there's some St. Louis folks here, and obviously you might not be looking for content immediately after the game because either you might be celebrating to your heart's content or wanting to curl up in a corner. I get that, but we're super fortunate here in Winnipeg. Lots of great post-game coverage. Immediately after the game, Illegal Curve on YouTube goes live and they break down every single goal of the game and they talk about everything. And then immediately after that, Kenny and Rennie, Ken Weeb from Winnipeg Free Press and Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet.ca, the two of them do a show on YouTube as well. And then after that, we have Winnipeg Sports Talk with Connor and Remus. So there's just so much post-game content that's available for everybody. So we highly encourage you check all of that out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to do it for us. Game 7, game day edition of WST Sunday Live. Easily our biggest crowd ever. Over 500 people today. That's a new record for us. So thank you everyone for joining us. This was a super fun show. I knew it would be a fun show going into a game 7. And we've got a lot of time between now and puck drop list. So Jets fans, go enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the game tonight. Remus and I will have you covered on the post-game show after. And like I said, you should still have a lot of faith in this Jets group. Number 1 team during the regular season. Home ice advantage. They've been much better on home ice. Connor Hellebuyck, he's due for a good game if you want to look at the glass half full approach. So this is going to be a fun one. Embrace everything that comes with a game 7. If the Blues score the first goal, it's not over. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be an awesome day. Enjoy the weather. Get down to the whiteout street parties early. And enjoy game 7. Enjoy game 7. Let's get out of here. Anything else you want to say on the way out as everyone leaves and gets ready for today?
Yeah, nothing to say. Just hit the like button. Thank you so much, Jets fans and St. Louis fans, for being here. It's so fun. Favorite part of it is getting to watch everyone interact with one another, and friendly competition is always tons of fun. So thank you everyone for being here. Mm-hmm. We will be here in the future as well. It doesn't matter how today goes. We're not going anywhere. We got lots of content still to come for you folks. So we're very thankful for the opportunity to get to speak with all of you all the time, and we have lots of fun. Let's have a fun one tonight.
Join us next Sunday, breaking down the first 2 games of Jet Stars. It'll be awesome, folks. And no, I'm kidding. Let's see how today goes. I'm super fired up, super excited. So enjoy the day, everyone. Enjoy game 7. Thanks for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out, and we will see you next Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on WST Sunday Live. See ya.